Hello, everybody. I'm not quite sure. There we go. We've got some people up. Hi, it's Althea here with your communicating to customers chat. Can everybody hear me? Thank you. We're going to start and hopefully everybody else can catch up with us. Communicating to your customers. Why are you gearing down? It's not often that we sit in this position where we really want to actually close our businesses, but sometimes we have to. And there are various different reasons for closing our business. There we go. And basically, or gearing down, should I say, basically, we have to close our business for various different reasons. There are a lot of businesses struggling now with the COVID pandemic. Also, lack of profitability. Maybe focus has changed and you want to look at core competencies and refine what you're actually doing. Or you might be in the position where you actually have sold the business and you're going to be extricating yourself out of the business. Now, we're all basically working in the world of small businesses and entrepreneurship. So basically in the middle, you actually have your you, which is you, the brand, or the brand that you've actually created. Sorry, guys, before I actually forget, if you have any questions, just please just write them down as you think about them, and you can preferably put them in the question side, but also I will keep an eye on both tabs, the chat and the question side. So if we look at who's going to be affected in this environment, other than you, of course, it's going to be your customers, and you can't service customers without suppliers, and you may or may not have creditors that you actually need to pay. So the first question is, why do I need to communicate to customers when I'm downsizing or closing? I'm going to jump to the bottom there. You are the brand. You need to protect the brand, because closing your business does not necessarily mean that you are disappearing. It means that you need to be able to protect your brand, you as the brand. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's hot. I think it's a little on the sad side, but it's going to be very difficult for you to close your business. But understand, you've got customers and people that have relied on you, that have supported you over the years, and they rely on your products and services. And if you just leave them in the lurch, customers don't like feeling stranded at the last minute or not knowing where to go. You might be in the position where you want to refocus your business. Now you can use this as a wonderful marketing opportunity to actually shift and bring your loyal consumers along. In the end, your customer does need to know that they will still receive the service they expect despite changes. They also need to know that even if you are going to close, you're going to be there with them all the way through to the end. So I've put in here is when should I communicate? You have to plan this strategically. You can't just get up one morning and decide you're going to close and then throw out a whole big message to everybody and say, that's it, people, we're out of here. You have to plan this strategically. And the first and most important thing of all is, if you have any outstanding invoices, if you have anybody that owes you any money, you must try and collect that. Because if you don't, when you do try and close, people are going to say, well, you're not there anymore. You know, maybe I don't have to pay you. Often customers like to pay into an account. And if your business account is closed with the bank, they're going to be a little reluctant to actually pay into your personal bank accounts. The other thing is, if your business does depend on sales, you want to sell as much as possible prior to the announcement. One of the things you could actually do is organize the sales strategy, organize maybe some discounts, and try and move as much stock as possible. You don't want to be left with stock and assets and everything that you actually have to try and shift after you've made the announcement. And at the same time, if you actually announce too early, maybe your customers are going to go elsewhere because they know you're not going to be around to service them anymore. In which case, you're still going to you're going to lose sales and you're not going to get income coming in. And if you are closing down, you're going to want as much income to come in as well. What are you going to say to the customers? Okay, the most important thing is professionalism. Your tone must be professional, and your customer also wants to know that you've got things, that you've got it. You need to be upfront and honest. Now, that does not necessarily mean you actually have to write a long ending letter explaining all the difficulties that you've actually had. All you really need to do is just say to them that the business is actually closing. You just have to state that the business is closing. You also give the date that the business is going to close, if need be, and you've negotiated with fellow entrepreneurs or businesses out there that may or may not be able to support your customers when you're gone. You might want to actually tell them that there's another business that can actually meet their needs. And also you need to actually make sure that in this letter that you provide an avenue where people can actually contact you in connection with anything that they would like to talk to you about. If you're a service-related industry or you are building projects or building stuff, you may have contracts that are actually in place. So your customers do need to know that they should have a contact number where they can contact you. Always thank your customers. Okay? They've been there for you. They've helped you through the way. They've given you business. If you're having to close down because you're in the COVID crisis, it's not their fault that you have to close. We're all landing up in strange circumstances where we've never landed up before. So be positive. Be positive about the fact that you're going to close. Express an expression of gratitude. Basically, thank them for their business. Thank them for their loyalty. If you're in an environment where you have a very small, close circuit community that you've actually been living in and that you've been servicing, summarize some of the successes that your business has actually had. And then also explain the impact on the local community and how your customers have assisted you to actually achieve those successes. I spoke or briefly mentioned stock a slide or so ago. If you've got stock, make sure and you've put out your closure letter and you still owe people merchandise or stuff that needs to be delivered. Tell them that it still will be delivered and that they're rest assured that they won't lose out. If you do have stock on shelves that you'd like to get rid of, offer discounts and specials on stocks to your loyal customers. Once you've actually done that, you can then maybe engage in a liquidation sale where you want to get rid of stock that you have not been able to get rid of yet. Another way to get rid of that stock to actually bring in some income and some money is to actually offer those things onto things like eBay or any other medium where the greater public can actually get hold of them. Well, hopefully by this time you've managed to get in all your outstanding invoices. So if you do have people that owe you money, offer them a small discount. Say if you actually pay within the next 7 days, I'll give you a 2.5% or a 5% discount. And the longer they actually offer to pay you back, the lower the discount actually becomes. Again, if you have any current contracts that are in place, please just tell your customers that you will actually complete the projects. On the off chance that chaos has actually happened and you cannot finish the projects due to maybe stock or materials that you can't actually get hold of. I mean, I'm in the process of building something here and the building's been held up because my contractor can't get hold of supplies. So you may or may not land up in that situation, in which case, tell your customers that any outstanding money that or deposits they've actually paid, or any goods that you can't actually deliver afterwards, just tell them that you can't do it and that you will actually refund their money if you can't deliver the goods, and or if they've got deposits on services that you actually cannot fulfill, that you will actually return that to them. Are there no questions yet? Anybody? Okay. How do we communicate? Well, in this day and age, that little thing called a mobile phone seems to be stuck to everybody's ears and whatever. Keep your business professional. Don't just stick out a global WhatsApp and say, sorry, dudes, we're all out of here. I'm closing my company tomorrow. That's it. As I said, professionalism, keep it professional. Email an official letter on an official letterhead stating all the things we said before, that the business is actually closing, state a reason for it. You can't fulfill any of your contracts due to the COVID pandemic. Give them a date that we're going to close, and then fulfill all that information we spoke about, or I spoke about on the slide before. Post any pertinent information on all your social media pages. A good tip here is keep your social media pages open and active for a while, even after the business is actually closed, just in case somebody would like to get hold of you or has a question to actually ask, or in case you need to actually be lucky enough to be able to start up again, in which case you can actually then keep the followers that you have on their social media pages and bring them through and into the new company. If you are shipping out orders and products, send a letter with every single final order. Or if you've managed to actually structure it enough, you can send it out with the pre-ultimate order and offer discounts with the final order. And those loyal customers, the people that you can contact face-to-face, there's still nothing like picking up a phone and actually speaking to somebody and saying to them, listen, I find myself in this predicament. I just want to let you know that I have no option. I have to close my business. And this is what I've actually put into place to ensure that you as my customer are actually protected. Again, there's nothing like a face-to-face discussion with your larger customers or customers that there are maybe complex contracts in place that you need to actually open up and speak to them and negotiate different things. If you by any chance do have a shop or you have a store where you can actually put up a poster, once you've actually contacted all your customers and everybody knows exactly what's actually happening, you can actually put out you can actually put out a notice onto the shop front, and you can actually then do it to the public. Right, okay. If you can't actually, Michael has actually asked, what should I do if I can't pay back a deposit and can't deliver on the goods and services as promised? Okay, we're going to cover that on the next slide, so I'm going to actually hold onto that one because that is an important one. You can always just put out a blanket. Once you've done everything with your customers, put out a blanket public notice onto social media that your business is actually closing. Right, Michaela, you will have suppliers and you will have creditors. If you cannot pay back a deposit or you can't deliver on the goods and services promised, a little bit of a problem. But if you've managed to collect all your invoices in from other people and you've got creditors and suppliers, you can always, if you need to pay your creditors and suppliers as well as people that you have to pay back, then negotiate on credit terms with your suppliers and your creditors, but don't ignore them. If you can get money in before you actually shut your doors, and you can actually get a delay and ensure that you have a cash flow to be able to pay your customers back, then negotiate with your suppliers and creditors. Michaela, if you don't mind replying back onto that one as well, ideally you should be able to have the deposits or to be able to return goods to suppliers if you can't actually deliver on the goods and services that you've actually promised, and therefore you should be able to find money to actually pay them back. If you can't do that, then ideally it might be advisable to be able to speak to somebody in order to get a loan to pay those people back, or if you can negotiate with your customer that you can pay them over a period. Kieran, what happens if a supplier liquidates you? Well, that is a little bit of a problem, obviously. Ideally, you should not get to that problem. If you're finding yourself getting stuck with not being able to pay your suppliers, then speak to them. Just as the slide says, remember your suppliers and your creditors are also people trying to actually run a business. And your suppliers or your creditors would rather have you speak to them direct before you land up in trouble and say to them, listen, this is what's actually happening. I'm battling to actually make ends meet on this one. Please, can we actually look at an extended period of paying you back? Once you've got to be liquidated by a supplier, your hands are pretty much tied. You'll have to find somebody or somehow that you can get a loan in order to be able to pay back your suppliers. If you have assets and stuff, you've got, let's say you have a small shop and you've got assets like machinery, tables, all of that kind of stuff. Sell those out. Bring yourself in, get yourself some cash in order to be able to pay your supplier to stop them from liquidating you. If you give your suppliers and your creditors enough time that they can allow to position themselves to collect, and you're open and honest with them, more often than not, people are very, very understanding. It's when you get worried about what's actually happening, and you're rather a little scared and you don't know what to do, and we sometimes actually tend to isolate ourselves and we don't communicate. When you don't communicate with somebody you owe money to, all they think about is, well, you're not actually communicating. I can't get hold of you. You're running away. And if you're running away, I've got the law on my side, and I'm actually going to implement a process where I can actually claim money from you. So try not to get to that point where a supplier liquidates you. Again, as I said to you, discuss extended payment terms. Often, if you've boxed clever, a lot of your customers will pay you on 30 days and you will pay your customers on 60 days. If you have a 30-day account with your suppliers, ask them whether you can extend it to a 60-day period. That way you can actually then bring in money, collect your outstandings from your customers, sell off your assets, and then pay the people you need to pay, and pay your suppliers on 60 days. The other way to do this is make partial payments. So if you need to be able, if you suddenly find yourself having to fork out 50,000 Rand at the end of the month and you don't have it, go to your supplier, go to your creditors, show good faith. Take the money that you've got, divided it out between the people you actually have. Give them a partial payment, and all that shows is good faith and that you're not going to run away. I want to jump back on to the first slide with why you're closing your business. Everybody in this forum at the moment, I am presuming we are all entrepreneurs, small business owners, and we all having to be able to function in an environment where we have to actually sell ourselves. If you actually ruin your brand name by not being able to, by not talking to your suppliers and your creditors, and or if you land up with a supplier liquidating you, your credibility goes to pot. And as a result, as people can't trust you anymore. And if people can't trust you, and you're the brand that, and you're trying to build something, then you really are not going to get the support that you actually need. So communicating openly, honestly, and straight down the line makes a huge difference on the response that you would get from people that you actually owe money to. If you have got some money and you owe a few people and you can want to pay 3 people with 2 lots of money, discuss discounts for immediate payment. Remember in one of the slides before, I actually said that offer your customers a discount if they pay you immediately. Request the same gratitude from your suppliers, your creditors. Say, if I pay you X amount now, or if I pay you in full, if you can do that, in the next 7 days, could we actually negotiate a discount? Often we don't like to talk about discounts. It's almost like a no-no. Be open. I can pay you X amount in 7 days. It covers 90% of my payments. Can we not discuss a 10% discount? Do exactly the same with your customers with your suppliers as you actually offering to your customers. That is all I have on communication. Quite short. Has anybody got any other questions? Janet, how can I limit a potential social media fallout? Communication. Okay, you should not get to the point where you're going to have a social media fallout. As we stand at the moment, and well within this COVID crisis, people are going to be very, very understanding. Okay, and if you find yourself starting to fall out the bottom of your business, you need to actually be upfront, and you need to catch it in the beginning to actually lessen the fall. Janet, what sort of business do you actually have that you would worry about social media fallout? I'm not sure, but you need to get ahead of the curve. Everything about successfully keeping your brand name, keeping your brand good, keeping your suppliers and your creditors sweet, and making sure that you actually look after your customers, that your customers don't go and slate you on social media, is communicate. Keep open lines of communication. Even after you've closed the business, just keep that communication open. You have an online shop. The message may cause a negative backlash. Well, that is why you need to be strategic in when you actually communicate. So if you have an online shop and you're having to close the online shop because you can't get stock because a lot of your stock is coming from overseas, start when you're finding that you're not going to actually get stocks. Start reducing the amount of stuff you can actually hand out. Start offering discounts. Make sure that everything gets into place. That you actually, when you're functioning like this, start to actually narrow that focus and narrow that funnel down. That by the time you actually get to that message that you actually put out on social media, the potential backlash that you're going to have is minimal, because you've been open, because you've been honest, and because you've strategically planned when you're going to communicate. Again, a lot of the negative stuff on a backlash on social media is, again, because people can't get hold of you. Or not you, Janet, but often people duck and dive. And that is what causes the negative backlash. Honesty, be forthright and honest. And and adjust your business as it needs to actually change in order to be able to limit the backlash on social media. Any other questions? We've got some time, so. Okay, no other questions. All right, thanks very much for joining, people, and I hope that actually helped you a little bit. Yep, there's a chat. Hold on. Monique, is it professional to advertise the skills of your employees that you're going to have to let go with suppliers, or should it just be a clear cutoff? This chat is more about communicating to suppliers and creditors, and to customers. It doesn't really include discussion around employees that you actually have to let go. But yeah, if you've got if you've got employees that you know have the skills that may be able to fit into a supplier or anybody else, speak to the employee up front first. Okay, and then you can actually then sell their skills off to somebody else if you would like to do that. Should it just be a clear cutoff? No, not really. Try and help your employees all the way through. But there is a chat on that, on looking at your employees. Okay, all right. So thanks for everything, guys. I'll hold off for another minute or so if anybody has another question. But other than that, thanks a lot. All right, thanks all. Enjoy the rest of your week, and have a good one. Okay, cheers.